tonight. Mr. Wendell. Mr. Arabi. Chairman Otan.
Here.
Mrs. Chasson. Mr. Lorraine. President Chasson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Carleen. If everyone could please rise, we'll be led in an invocation by Councilman Groh, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Jones.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to start off by thanking everyone for attending tonight's meeting. I'd like to remind anyone wishing to address the council, you may do so during public wishing to address the council by filling out a blue form at the entrance door when you came in, getting it up to the council clerk. We'll be sure to recognize your name. And also, when we go through ordinances, we'll ask 3 times for public's input on any of the laws that the council will be passing. When we get to resolutions, it'll only be council deliberations before we bring it to a vote. We'd also ask everyone to be respectful of everyone else in terms of please silencing your phone or turning them off. With that said, we'll jump right into tonight's meeting. Item A, approval of minutes. I'll now entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the September 12, 2023 regular session. So moved by Councilman Wendell, second by Councilman Arabi. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, that absent being Councilman Melvin. Item B, state and/or federal legislative updates. I don't see any in the audience tonight. Brings us to item C. We have none tonight. Brings us to item D, proclamation. Item 2, Parish President Archie Chasson to present a proclamation proclaiming October 2023 as National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Mr. President, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas around the world, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced physical or sexual violence at least once in their lifetimes. And whereas 1 in 15 children are exposed to domestic violence each year, children who witness domestic violence are at an increased risk for post-traumatic stress disorder, aggressive behavior, anxiety-impaired development, difficulty interacting with their peers, academic problems, and have a higher incidence of substance abuse. And whereas children are left without a father or a mother oftentimes due to this senseless violence, sadly children are often the first ones on the scene. And whereas at least 25 Lafourche Parish residents have been killed at the hands of their abuser over the past 25 years, 52 victims were killed in Louisiana in 2022 alone. And whereas in the study of domestic violence homicides, it has found that 20% of the victims were not the intimate partner themselves, but family members, friends, neighbors, persons who intervened, law enforcement, or bystanders. Domestic violence affects everyone. Whereas Louisiana has ranked at least 5th in the nation in homicide rate among female victims killed by male offenders and single offender incidents over the last 10 years. Whereas in 2022, Lafourche Parish law enforcement agencies responded to 1,228 domestic violence-related calls, despite domestic violence being one of the most chronically underreported crimes, and 695 protective orders and temporary restraining orders were issued in Lafourche Parish to victims of domestic violence who are seeking protection from their perpetrators, a 27.7% increase from the previous year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that in recognition of the compassion and dedication of the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office, the Haven Domestic and Sexual Violence Program, the Lafourche Parish District Attorney's Office, the Pack Place Supervised Visitation and Exchange Center, in their efforts towards eliminating domestic violence to women, I, Archie Chasson, Parish President of Lafourche, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we ask that you remember those who have died due to domestic violence, and that you remember their names so that all who have died shall not have died in vain. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we have a whole bunch of people here tonight to get this.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Williams, and I'm very happy to be here and appreciative that you guys decided to recognize Domestic Violence Awareness Month for October. As a representative of the Haven and all that we do in this parish and in Terrebonne Parish, we are just elated that you want to recognize this very important month. We don't want to forget victims. We don't want to forget what they've experienced and the families that are still grieving these individuals. So we, again, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. And I just want to let everyone know that our candlelight vigil in Lafourche Parish will be October the 19th at the Lafourche Raceland
Pavilion.
Yes.
Intersection of Highway
Yes.
1 and Highway 9.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Absolutely.
So thank you all and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, Melissa, and all the others that champion this cause. Thank you. Okay, it brings us to item E, presentations and our updates. We have none. Bringing us to item F, legal advisor report. I think we're good tonight. Item G, engineers and our architect reports. I didn't see any engineers. None. All right. Brings us to item H, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, etc. Item 3, Mr. Brody Arrington to address the council to support an Eagle Scout project, the building of a pavilion at the walking trail and park next to the Cutoff Youth Center. If you don't mind, just state your name and address for the record. Yes, okay, everyone should have a, some paperwork regarding these. Go ahead, you have the floor. Just state your name and address.
Name is John Arrington. I live at Highway 110-222, Lockport, Louisiana. This is my grandfather, Ernest Thibodeau Jr. My mother is Lindsay Thibodeau. My grandmother is Susan Thibodeau. I am currently a Life Scout of Troop 333, trying to earn my Eagle project. I would like to build a pavilion at the Cutoff Youth Center with possible chairs and benches beneath it. The size and how many I'm going to build depends on how much money I was going to raise. The pavilion will have a corrugated metal roof and steel beams with a concrete slab to ensure that it survives all of the hurricane seasons. As I've given in front of you, you have 3 drawings of what the structure would look like, as long as the estimate as well. I am currently a student at South Lafourche High School, lived this parish for the past 7 years, spent my entire career in cross country and track and field. Participating in scouts has allowed me to build my confidence and see the importance of teamwork and unity. This community that we lived in for a long time has always given back to its people, no matter the circumstance, even though these past few years have been tough on us. Currently, at the youth center, there is no shelter for the walk-around park that they have. I would like to build a picnic table for all the families there, because for all the parties and everything, just to have a nice day for the people, to give back to the people. I'm asking you, the council, that I should build such a structure because that is parish property. I've already spoken with the youth center, and they said they would love to have the chance to have a structure over there. I would begin to the process of gathering money as soon as I get approved. The fundraising will consist of GoFundMe account of 2 local banks, plate lunches at the local churches, letters to businesses and local commissions for asking for donations. I wish to complete my project before my 18th birthday on April 24th. Thank you for your time and for my ability to speak to you today. I appreciate your time.
Very good. John, anyone who wants to engage him? Mr. Wendell, you have the floor.
Mr. Arrington, welcome. Thank you for that and filling us in on what your plans are. That is a very noble effort. In 1993, I became an Eagle Scout, and that was probably one of the most challenging things that happened. And I just want to tell you, Eagle Scout projects tend to be real tedious. You have a couple setbacks, but don't let that discourage you. Just keep moving forward. It'll probably be the biggest milestone that you've accomplished thus far, and it'll bring you places in the future. As I said, in the early 90s, I became an Eagle Scout, was very successful with, 20 years as a professional in senior management in the oil and gas industry. Then I moved into government, have a history of law enforcement, fire service, so scouting really does mold you into doing great things and having great things happen. The youth nowadays have seemed to move away from programs such as that because of video games and everything else. And I noticed where scouting has kind of changed its ways to include some of that to keep the interest of others. So keep doing what you're doing, and thank you very much for your contribution to the community. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for those wise words, Mr. Wyndham. Anyone else? Thank you for that presentation. Very good.
Mr. Ramon Barrera, if you would come to the podium, Mr. Barrera, state your name and address for the record. Please remember you have 3 minutes.
So good afternoon. My name is Ramon Barrera. My address is 133 Blue Ash Street in Raceland. I'm coming here to get an update on the transmission lines that are down in the parish.
Yeah, for those who don't know, he was here many months ago, and this is cable lines that are down throughout the parish off of predominantly Entergy's poles that are, I'm sure most of you that travel up and down the bayou see them. Dylan, you have any updates?
Yes, sir. So I know we were all back and forth on an email chain. Mr. Barrera, you were copied in that. Chairman Otan expressed his, I guess, concern is a best word, with energy and their lack of effort on it. I then had energy representative come down and meet with me. We met on August 16th, and we rode from Highway 90 to Valentine, assessed all the lines. She has then brought it back to the pole attachment group, and now it's in engineering's hands. Engineering is figuring out logistics. I have an email here that states that they're going to try to have it cleaned up by the end of the year. They're working on the logistics involved, and then when we have more details on the timeline, they're going to report back to us. But we haven't got those details yet. So it's just over a month since we rode, but it is in engineering's hands while they try to figure out the logistics for it.
Okay, that's great. So this issue's been going on since Hurricane Ida. I think there's from a tolerance standpoint, at this point, this needs to be a zero tolerance standpoint with energy. We need to get energy to give us the timeline, give us a date when we'll get the project plan, and they need to follow it. If you guys, my personal perspective on this is that we need to escalate it. It needs to be escalated. This has gone on too long.
Yeah, and as you know, Mr. Barrera, I couldn't agree more. From 3 weeks ago, I think, I sent the pictures to Dylan, cable getting caught in a bush hog that I was running, and I've also had to cut a couple lines from the fire department side because of vehicles pulling them onto the highway. We actually have one right now in La Rose that's on Highway 308. So, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. And I don't know, anyone else have any comments on this? Any issues going on? Mr. Araby?
Like I said, we've been fighting this for quite some time now. I'd like to sponsor a resolution to request Energy to expedite the cable removal as needed at the next meeting.
Would that be good, Dylan? At least we're giving them a verbal, like, hey, can we increase this? I think the biggest thing is if we can get a timeline, because I think my fear is this is going on for a long time. I think April is, we're going to come to the end of the year, and they're going to be still saying. Anyway, look, I'm a pro-energy person, so I'm not here to bash energy. I just want to see it move along.
No,
Mr. President.
against energy, just to try to see if we can fire them up a little bit.
Mr.
No,
President.
I think you got to kick him in the teeth. But I would say, Mr. Araby, if you're going to sponsor the resolution, that we ask that it be sent to Commissioner Craig Green's office as well, because we can pass all the resolutions and harp all we want down here. It's the PSC that has ultimate control over these guys. So, and like, they have some good local people, who Dylan rode with, and the guys out of the office right here on 308 are really good. I know it's just corporate that's the problem sometimes. So.
Good, so we'll do that resolution.
Right, and again, I believe we need to get the list, prioritize the core areas that need to get resolved, and we need those issues resolved immediately, which is lines on the ground, lines that, if a vehicle goes off the road, I mean, we're talking about the capitation here. Thank God it hasn't happened yet. But this is a serious issue. A line comes down on a tractor. We got 18,000 votes on them lines. This is a serious, it's very serious. So anyways, I appreciate any type of escalation you guys can.
I will say that they
submit.
did confirm when we rode with Energy, there were no voltage lines. It was all old abandoned communication lines.
Right, no, I understand that, but.
No voltage
The
lines.
lines that, if you pull the old transmission lines down, the pole's coming down.
Yeah, the one I got caught in the bush hog is what he's saying is was tied to an actual live lineup, so had I pulled it down, but thanks again. Thank you for your passion
Yes.
for our parish.
Well, I would hope everyone here has that same passion. It needs to get cleaned up.
You got
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera. And thank you, Dylan, for joining Entergy to ride that path for us. We sure appreciate it. That's it? All right. So, do we want to ask for deviation or we just deviate? Ask for deviation. So we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Grow that we deviate to item J. And we come back to I later on. Is that your motion, sir? And second by Councilman Wendell. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, the absence being Councilman Melvin. Brings us to item J, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. I'll now entertain a motion to open the public hearing. So moved by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Grow. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent, the absent being Councilman Melvin. Item 6, ordinance establishing a four-way stop at the corner of Natalie Park Drive and Pond Drive, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Ward 1, District 1, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary four-way stop signs and providing penalties for the violations thereof. Moved by Councilman Gross, second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone from the public like to comment on ordinance number 6? Second call, public input, ordinance number 6. Last and final call for public input, item number 6. Would anyone from the council like to discuss? There being none, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 7, ordinance prohibiting grass clippings from the mowing of a lawn from being directed or blown onto the street and/or on a neighbor's property. Moved by Mr. Adams, second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 7? Second call, anyone from the public like to comment on item 7? Last and final call for public input on ordinance number 7. Anyone from the council who wants to discuss this one? I will just mention from my own, we brought this up years ago, and it's an unenforceable ordinance for many reasons. And coincidentally enough, yesterday, when I was on my way back from Thibodaux visiting with the parish president and the council clerk, the state was bush hogging on the side of the highway, and the highway was covered in grass because of the wind. So I'm not sure what would happen in that. So that's my thoughts on it. Anyone else? No one else has nothing? We'll bring it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed say nay. Nay. Motion fails. 0 yeas, 8 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 8, ordinance accepting the subdivision known as Old Town Subdivision Phase 3 into the parish system, moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. Anyone from the public like to comment on item 8? Second call for public, item 8. Last and final call for public input on ordinance number 8. Anyone from the council wants to discuss? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 9, ordinance approving a servitude agreement between Ravenswood Plantation Incorporated and Lafourche Parish Government in the Lockport area, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Mr. Adams will move on behalf of the administration, second by Councilwoman Chesson. Anyone from the public like to comment on item 9? Second call, public input, item 9. Last and final call for public input on ordinance 9. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 10, ordinance approving a non-warranty cash sale agreement for a property adjudicated to Lafourche Parish Government located on Sandra Street, La Rose, Louisiana, 70373, assessment number 0041596200, with a minimum starting bid of $12,533.14, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said cash sale and any all relevant documents. Mr. Adams will move on behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item 10? Second call, item 10. Anyone from the public? Last and final call for public input on ordinance at number 10. Anyone from the council? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed, 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. Item number 11, ordinance approving a non-warranty cash sale agreement for property adjudicated to Lafourche Parish government located at 20644 Highway 1, Golden Meadow, Louisiana, 70357, assessment number 0102155800, with a minimum starting bid of $13,741.80, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said cash sale and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Would anyone from the public like to comment on item number 11? Second call, public input at ordinance on item 11. Last and final call for public input, item 11. Anyone from the council wants to discuss? Go ahead, Mr. Grove.
So, Mitch, you may know, when these adjudicated properties are posted on the Civic Source site, well, when we act on this, how long does it take for it to come to the auction?
So once they post it, anywhere from 3 to 6 months before the property actually exchange hands from the current owners through us to the new property owner.
And do we advertise that we haven't, that for their site, or that we couldn't do that because it's a private company that's doing the auction? We don't lead people to the auction.
If
Let them
folks
know
call and they're express
Okay.
some interest,
Okay.
we do tell them, go, it's on this website, this is where you can go and look it up.
Okay.
We have an agreement with Civic Source.
All right.
That's what we do.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator. Thank you, Councilman Grove. Any further discussion before we bring it to a vote? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 12, ordinance rescinding ordinance number 6772 that approved a non-warranty cash sale agreement for property adjudicated to Lafourche Parish government located on Bayou Lane, Thibodeau, Louisiana, 70301, assessment number 00205-42760, for a minimum starting bid of $5,620, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration, second by Mr. Araby. Any discussion from the public? Second call for public input. Last and final call for anyone wanting to comment on item 12. Anyone from the council? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. I'll now entertain a motion to close public hearing. So moved by Mr. Jones, second by Mr. Adams. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. Item K, proposed ordinances. Ms. Chesson, you have the floor, ma'am.
Proposed ordinance number 13, granting a variance from Lafourche Parish subdivision regulations from front-loaded lot driveway access in front, building setbacks reduced to 5 feet on lots East 68 and E 76, and from front-loaded lot driveway access in front, building setbacks reduced to 10 feet on lots E 77-E 83 in the settlement at Live Oak Phase 5, as not recommended by Lafourche Parish Planning Commission at their August 30th, 2023 meeting. Mr. Adams for administration. 14, proposed ordinance granting a variance from Lafourche Parish subdivision regulations from the number of lots on a cul-de-sac in Dixie Heights Plantation, phases 1 to 5, as not recommended by the Lafourche Parish Planning Commission at their August 30th, 2023 meeting. Mr. Adams for administration. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Item L, resolutions. Number 15, resolution reappointing 1 member to the Recreation District Number 8 Board. Mr. Araby for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Araby?
1 vacancy, 1 reappointment, Mr. Freddie Bro III.
Mr. Bro, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 16, resolution appointing 1 member on the South Central Louisiana Human Services Authority Board. Mr. Araby for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Araby?
1 vacancy, 1 applicant, Nicole Bourgeois.
Ms. Bourgeois, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 17, resolution approving change order number 1 for the project titled Leeville Public Boat Launch Reconstruction Hurricane Auto Repairs, decreasing the contract price by $106,727.50, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Lorraine for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? No comments on that big reduction. All right, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 18, resolution approving the services of DRC Emergency Services LLC for contractor services relative to private property nuisance abatement of condemned structures to proceed with demolition and debris removal 23-094.11 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Someone move on my behalf. Mr. Jones will move on behalf of the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? I'll just say thank y'all for continuing to push these because I'm waiting on that list every time it comes out. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 19, resolution approving an agreement with the State of Louisiana Department of Education for the Child and Adult Care Food Program, CACFP, for fiscal year 2024, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Araby for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 20, resolution certifying to Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development that Lafourche Parish government have and will continue to comply with all FHWA DOTD requirements regarding performance of interim inspections, calculating the load carrying capacity, and load posting deficient bridges under our jurisdiction for 2023, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Grove for the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 21, resolution to urge and support the Environmental Protection Agency's approval of the proposed application that will allow the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources to issue underground injection control permits for geologic sequestration facilities as Class 6 wells, and authorize the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. And Mr. Adams will move for me for the administration, second by Ms. Chesson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 22, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between Capital Area Finance Authority and Lafourche Parish Government, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Ms. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 23, resolution approving an agreement between the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness and Lafourche Parish Government for the 2023 State Homeland Security Program, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Adams will move for me for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 24, resolution approving amendment number 1 to task order number 1 with All South Consulting Engineers LLC for the project titled Home Place Pump Station, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and task order and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Adams for the administration, second by Mr. Jones. That was an interesting wording, trying to trip me up with task order, I guess. No discussion. We'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 25, resolution approving an agreement between Lafourche Parish Government and Angelette Design LLC for the project titled Catfish Lake Living Shoreline Protection, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Mr. Lorraine for the administration, second by Mr. Wendell. Any discussion? Would someone from the administration be so kind as to explain to everyone what's going on with all these new living shoreline protection projects coming about?
Yes,
Mr.
so,
President.
Mr. Chairman, I know you and I talked about this. Danos, which is a local Lafourche Parish Terrebonne company, is partnering with a group called Natrix, and they make basically a molded injection concrete structure that we can use for living shorelines, right? It's been used across the country in a few test cases in South Louisiana. It's really good for fish habitat, oyster growth, crabs, that sort of stuff. So they came to us and we're looking for some ways to partner through the GOMESA funding that we have, that we get every year from the state, as well as what we get, the money that we have from when the previous council bonded out the GOMESA money back in 2018, 2019. We're gonna partner with Danos, the port, the town of Lockport in 4 or 5 different locations. The first test case will be This piece around Catfish Lake, it'll kind of go around some existing features that we built in the old CAP days back in 2008, 2010. We're then going to come along with a project. You'll see a contract in probably on the next council meeting with another firm to help design the project along the old bulkhead in Lockport that'll run from our kayak dock all the way around to the playhouse. We're going to work with the South Lafourche Levee District and do a couple of key spots around the levee, as well as the port, kind of protecting some of the terraces and some of the work that we're doing with DU. So I'm going to try to get them to come do the presentation for you guys, or at least hopefully in the next meeting when we do the other contract, have some pictures. It's a really cool process. It's basically a 3D printed kind of big concrete block, and they can do it in any way, shape, or form that we need it for water flow, for better habitat. We've been joking, I wanted to see one done in the Nichols Inn for the new coastal center, and believe it or not, they could do it. So they're working on that as well. So it's some really cool stuff. I'll ask Nick and maybe the next council meeting or two to come do the full presentation for you guys so you can see what it looks like. But again, local company or local people who are working on this. And if we can get enough of these things going, the hope is that we bring this printer back to the yard in La Rose and we crank up that Danos yard again. And have them working here in Lafourche Parish. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. So very, very exciting. I know the mayor, Mayor Barry Plaisance of Lockport is super excited, as I am. So thank y'all for moving this one along. With that said, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 26, resolution approving an agreement between GIS Engineering LLC and Lafourche Parish Government for engineering services for the project titled Midway Drainage Study and Report, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Adams for administration, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 27, resolution approving change order number 1 for a project titled Hurricane Ida Repairs, Thibodeau Health Unit, increasing the contract price by $43,966.48 and adding 35 additional days, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said change order and any all relevant documents. Moved by Mr. Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Adams. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. Brings us to item M, parish president, department heads, directors, or managers' reports, presentations, and or updates. Item 28, finance representative to present the monthly financial report as required by the state agreed upon procedures for August 2023. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Renita's not here tonight, but you guys should all have received the email with the financials as per the AUP. So if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer.
Excellent. Do y'all want to, we can move right into item N, questions for the administration.
I got a question.
Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, Mr. Chasson, can you give us an update on the government complex in South Lafourche?
Absolutely. So as you guys know, I know we posted some pictures. The roof contractor has started. They went about a week or so after they were done here. We are working with the architects to wrap up the design on the inside of the building. We kind of switched some stuff around where offices were. It'll have all the same services before, the registrar of voters, the clerk, the assessor, the district attorney's office. Of course, community action will be down there. We'll still have a coastal presence, and it will include some offices if you or Ms. Chasson need a place to meet with people like we had before. It includes 4 Head Start classrooms instead of 3, because we're anticipating some more kiddos wanting to come into the program from South Lafourche. So we're hopeful to be able to go out to bid with that toward the end of the year when they're done with the roof. And then first thing in 2024, we'll get cranking. My hope is that we have that place up and running and operational, at least our side and the Head Start side for next school year. That way we can get the kids back in those classrooms and we stop the travel back and forth on the bus. But I'm really hopeful that we get at least some of the government side up so we can have voting there like we typically would for the presidential election next year.
And since you're the liaison of the library, can you give us a little update on the library, which would be next door, and the one in Golden Meadow?
You've been really nice lately. I might put you back.
I could be nice sometimes.
No, I'm just kidding. So the library side is progressing. Kind of the same architects working on it as well. The last library board meeting, the entire Golden Meadow and the town council, the mayor showed up talking about what's going on in the library. So we have begun some conversations with the architects as well about what does that space look like. The mayor said, you know, the best people to talk to about that is the ladies who worked there before, because they knew what the people were going in there and using and doing. So we've begun those conversations. No real hard, firm, kind of, I can't give you a picture of what it's going to look like in Golden Meadow yet, but it's moving along.
Well, all I could see is we had some heated debates before, and it went pretty calm tonight.
Silver Fox strikes again.
Mr. Araby.
I just want to thank the administration and the solid waste department for the Elizabeth Square project that's going on as we speak. I know this has been a long-going project, and I know I questioned the administration quite a few times about it, but they stayed on top of it for me, and again, I want to thank them for making it happen. The excavator has already knocked down one this afternoon, and I'm sure they're going to get the rest of them. So again, thank y'all for making that happen.
Mr. Wendell.
Mr. Lafourche, when our guy goes around looking at bridges, can we get the bridge on Mary Beth, where Mary Beth and Terre Haute meet, that crosses the Hollywood Canal, looked at, just the structure and the foundation? It's not an urgent matter, but it looked a little off.
Yes, sir, something outside of the normal, I guess, 2-year load rating that we do.
Well, I don't know when the last time it was done, but I rode back there Sunday to go look at an issue, and it kind of looks, I don't want to say twisted, I don't want to misspeak and cause alarm and panic, but it just, the panels don't look like flush or, level.
Yeah, we'll look at it in-house, and if we see anything that we don't like, we'll contract an engineer to look into it.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Also, we've spoken a couple times over the last few years following Ida about a lay-down area at the interstate to get supplies dropped off before coming down LA1, Bayou Blue, wherever it may be. I'm waiting on a call back either today or tomorrow from a state representative. It looks like the hell that was raised by District 5, the state is going to resurface Bayou Blue Road. And I'm just wondering if we can keep an eye on that project, and if it is something that they're going to do and not retain 100% of the asphalt shavings, if we could start at the LA1 site on the other side, the fire station, or at Bayou Blue, wherever we plan to put that mat down and make a lot to stage some emergency equipment. That way that's not a cost we have to bear in the future when we decide to pull the trigger on it. So I heard, now this is unofficial, I heard that maybe they're going out to bid for that as early as late October, early November. So if we could keep an eye on it and see if it is happening, and if so, if we can retain some of that for our projects that we were discussing. That way it's not an out-of-pocket cost. So just a request to keep an eye out for that. Thank you.
Any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, so I'm gonna flip through the letting list, John. They sent it out last week, so I'll double check and see when the letting project is. But I know you brought that up a couple times. Councilman Araby has talked about it before. We have done basically everything DOTD has asked us to do for the property next to the fire station, as well as an expanded piece of property for the Bayou Blue Fire Department, because I know they want to expand that station under Highway 90. We had the property surveyed, we sent it in. I have sent no less than an email every 3 weeks asking for an update from those guys. Everybody that we knew with DOTD is no longer there in the higher up administration, because they're all starting to faction out based on the new governor and what's going to happen there, but we'll try again. But as soon as they kind of tell it, we've been really good about stockpiling it at the shooting range on 182. We still have a huge pile there, so we'll make the request and see if we can get some of it. And all else fails, we could stockpile it there and then truck it when they finally get to us.
I just figured they did LA1 a while back, and I don't know if we were able to get any of that, but I think that's 21 miles of road for Bayou Blue Road, so if we can get a fraction of that, that add to the overall, pile that we retain.
Mr. Jones.
Mr. Lafourche, can we get an update on the alert bumps or strips on the Rickfield Road?
Yes, sir, we made contact with the provider late last week, and they said they are going to replace them for us. So we are going through the talks if that means replacing them on the road as well or just the product, but as soon as I hear on that, I'll let you know. We do not have a timeline for it yet, but they are planning to replace it.
Okay, appreciate it. The caution lights are working, but they're still wrecking. Mr. President, John Deere Road.
Yep.
Can you get an update on that?
Yeah, so as you guys will remember, a few months ago, we approved the road transfer agreement with DOTD. If you've driven it lately, you'll see the white markings. They've done the initial start of the where they think they're gonna have to pat and do the overlays. A couple of meetings ago, you guys approved an agreement. I'll take that back. You should approve an agreement, hopefully in the next council meeting, with Mr. Gewen and High Tide. So he's gonna design the actual turn lanes that John Deere needs. As part of the taxing agreement we had with them, the parish is gonna pay to improve the turn lanes, and DOTD is gonna overlay the rest of the road as per the road transfer program and bring it up to the standards. So we hope to have that done. We're pushing to have it done very early next year, because if we don't do it in the first quarter, then they're gonna begin construction on their facility, and it's gonna cause some traffic issues, and we don't wanna hamper their expansions and bringing in their materials. So we're pushing the state and DOTD, and hopefully, again, with a new governor, we can help speed that up a little bit.
Mr. Grove?
Do they typically neglect roads so that they getting ready to hand over to us? Because I think we got lucky the other day when they were able to find one of their tractors. So we were going to cut it ourselves and sent one of their tractors, redirected them, I guess. So thank y'all. On the two proposed ordinance with the developments, are these coming up because they were approved before with the old regulations, and so they were denied? I didn't know if this was like the first group of ones coming after since some things changed.
No, so we actually had a meeting about that before the council meeting with Tony and Dylan, Mr. David, who took over from his patent planning, and Mr. Aaron from Public Works. And kind of what we're thinking is that if the development kind of already went through their, and hopefully I don't mess up the terminology here, Dylan, but if they went through the sketch approval, right, where they designed the roads, the layouts, and the drainage, we're letting them proceed. If all they sent us was that preliminary design that basically said we're gonna have X number of lots with the road, we're gonna shift them to those new regulations. But these two have nothing to do with the new regulations as far as drainage or roads. This has to do with a cul-de-sac. I forget what the other one is for, but it has nothing to do with those.
All right, I just didn't know if the first wave of ones we'd see. Okay.
Yeah, so I want to also, Mr. Wendell, go ahead.
I noticed in the proposed ordinances, it says something about setbacks from the road. And it listed quite a few lots. Before we determine or vote on that next time, can we get a diagram or a picture of what they're talking about? Because typically, setbacks in a neighborhood is what causes all the problems that are brought to us. The speeding issues, because the house isn't set back far enough, there's only room for one car in the driveway. If the resident doesn't end up putting a second pad down to park a second car, so you get people parking on the streets. You'll have the dumpsters in the streets for construction, and then the kids are running in the yard, and you really can't see down the street to see where kids are and everything, and it causes issues for us with the phone calls of you need to lower the speed limit, you need to raise the speed limit, we need speed bumps. Causes issues for the sheriff's office with people are driving 40 miles an hour through here, but the road's a lot smaller and everything's a lot closer. So I think we need to, this is not just a variance on a fire hydrant location or something like this. This is something that could potentially grow to be a larger problem in the future. And if we set a precedence by doing it, then everybody else will be in line to have it done. So I think we'll need quite a bit of information on it to be able to make an informed decision, because that has the potential to cause issues.
Yeah, we can make sure you guys get something ahead of time, and then make sure Tony and David are here from the Planning Commission side and the permits office to explain it to you.
Yeah, I'll mention, so Councilman Araby and I met with Mr. Earl Davis last night, and those who don't know should know he is on the Planning Commission, and expressed their frustration with variances that are granted after they've done their due diligence and made the recommendation to us, and we seem to often override their recommendation. And I'll just remind you that people like Mr. Earl, and if you haven't met him, you really need to meet him. He's from Raceland, and he's lived in California for an extended period of time, and in Atlanta. So he has a wide knowledge in terms of developments and what we should and shouldn't be doing. So I do hope that we all put a lot of more faith, I think, than what we have into our planning. They work hard. They do this on a regular basis far more than us. So their recommendation should mean something to us. I do have a couple of questions for the administration. I know I normally don't. I like to get them before the meeting. But you mentioned the letting by the state. Just curious to know the 5-bridge project, if it happened to have been, or if you heard about them, the one that's been pushed for probably 10 years now.
Yeah, so it's backed up. They show it now at February 14th of 2024. And Jim, Councilman Wendell, I see nothing in the next couple of months going into 2024 that has anything to do with 316. So I'll email Josh and see if they know anything.
Great. Also, there was some, I think Mr. Araby was thanking you, I know some talk about some of the demo work. Yesterday, as you know, I get calls for everything under the sun. Yesterday was a drone stuck in a tree. So for those that don't know, apparently there's a contractor working for FEMA that went into City Place, took about 3,000 pictures with a drone. He got caught in the tree, which thankfully to Mr. Whalen, it was wrong, it was retrieved. But they were inside of each one of the complexes and video and et cetera. So we're way far past drones. I mean, we had drone footage weeks after the hurricane. Any update on what's going on with City Place?
So I thought about that today, and I told it to somebody earlier when I drove by this morning headed to Thibodeau. It was time for me to send her another email saying, hey, go cut your grass. And I was going to ask her for an update. But they're probably in there, if I had to guess, kind of everything we went through, they're probably in there doing the damage assessments. But yeah, they're way behind. I don't know if it's just a lack of the housing authority making any progress or what it is, but I'll try to find out for you.
Yeah, I'm growing concerned from a safety perspective. I mean, them units are some massive units, and that's a big compound that's not being tended to, managed, watched. So if we have a fire in there, it's going to be a massive fire. Thank you for that, Mr. President. Any further discussion? I'm sorry, any further questions for the administration? Questions for the administration? Now we're going to go to the discussion. Item O, do you want to be last or you want to start off discussion?
It doesn't matter. Your choice.
You have the floor, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you guys at your seats all have your budget binders. I'm sure, as we typically do at the second October meeting, you guys will set the budget hearings. But as you dig into it, please let us know. Thank you, Mr. Ernest. It includes a 6.5% increase for all the employees next year. We are still waiting on the insurance numbers. Savanya and Mitch are working their magic with Buddy and the folks at Blue Cross Blue Shield to see if we could drive that number down as far as we can go, but still holding on to the quality plan that we've worked so hard to get back over the last couple of years. So if you have any questions as you roll through it before the budget hearings, especially in the capital projects, we've tried to put just about everything in there that you guys asked for in the meetings. So hopefully you'll be happy with that. Mr. Chairman, you commented earlier about the demos that come up every 2 weeks. We're cutting pretty close to the end. We have about 38 left to go. There's an additional, I think, 4 or 5 that HGA and FEMA are still talking about, and we may just take the chance and go ahead and demo them while the crews are still here and fight that battle later, but we're coming to the end on that. I know, Mr. Chairman, you're probably going to talk about the fair in a couple of weeks, but just to let you know, we did meet today with a contractor that is finally going to cut the big opening in the back for the band to get more air. That should start on Monday. And then Mr. Scotty Trosclair, our new electrician, is going to order some brand new LED lights to replace all the old halogen stuff underneath. So when I go to do the auction Friday and Saturday night, I can actually see people out, and then everybody can kind of see. Everybody can see when we leave the ones on the edges on for you guys in the Coke booth and the beer booth and people who are sitting. So that'll be a good thing coming up. And lastly, as we talk about FEMA projects, if you guys are not aware, I know there's been a ton of notices that have gone out. FEMA has implemented what they call their emergency need funding requirements. What we commonly refer to as the DERF, which is the Disaster Relief Fund, is basically out of money because of the hurricanes, the wildfires, and everything else that FEMA's dealt with over the last couple of years, and the projects that they've obligated. Congress has not refilled the piggy bank. So we're hopeful that in some of the budget negotiations and the government shutdown stuff you're going to hear about over the next couple of weeks, that they put some more money back into the DERF. But what we're starting to see is that, and I talked to Congressman Scully's chief of staff a couple of weeks ago about this, you know, as we have these bi-weekly meetings with FEMA and we're talking about projects being obligated, being approved by the CRC in Denton and moving its way up to OMB and actually getting funded, we're getting them out of the CRC in Denton and the projects are being approved. But once it gets to OMB, they're putting the brakes on it and not releasing any money because there's basically no money in the pot. So we might see some of this stuff from a FEMA perspective go to a crawl. Luckily, we have the bond money, so cash flow for us is not going to be a problem. We're going to continue to move forward with the projects, but we may run into a stumbling block when we start to see reimbursement slow down. So if, you know, I know the Congress is going to be breaking for a week or two. If you happen to run into any of the delegation while they're in the course of visiting their districts, please bring that up. Please tell them how important it is to us that we keep that project and those projects moving and the funding coming, because if not, paying back those bonds in a couple of years might get a little tough. So, but we'll figure that out as we get there. I just wanted to bring that up so you guys knew, in case you heard about it or saw it on the news, that it's starting to impact what we're doing here locally. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Adams.
Yeah, I just want to say that the Choctaw Fire Department has their annual car show and cook-off this weekend on the 30th, so if y'all have some time, come around.
Bless you. All right, Mr. Araby.
I just want to make the public aware that the little Bantam football team at the Raceman Recreational Ground has been invited to go play in the Superdome in downtown New Orleans.
Very good. Before we take a quick break, in my discussion, I just want to mention that the State Fire Marshal's Office has a lot of communication going back right now with reference to the burn ban. So I think we're getting close to maybe Lafourche Parish being moved away from that. I mean, as some of you may know, for the first time ever, we actually had to have our bonfire here at Central Lafourche High School canceled due to the burn ban, even though it was a control, because there was 0 exceptions. It's never happened, my 32 years of public service, it's never happened. So it's pretty interesting. We'll see what happens there. I want to welcome everyone to please come see me and Terry and Archie and hopefully everyone else here at La Fête des Vieux Temps, the Festival of Old Times, October 6, 7, 8, intersection of Highway 1 and 90. We're going to have everything from cornhole tournaments to sauce piquant cook-offs. We'll have a pig that'll be clean, the old-fashioned way. And then, of course, a lot of bands. If you go to the Facebook website, La Fête des Vieux Temps, that's French, the Festival of Old Times, you'll be able to see the full band lineup. With that said, we'll now I have a motion on the floor by Ms. Chesson that we take a break until 6 p.m., at which time we have to return back on the agenda to for some other parts of this. Second by Mr. Wendell. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? None. So we currently have 7 yeas, 0 absences. 0 nays. 1 stepped out the room, that being Councilman Adams, so he didn't vote. And 1 absence, that being Councilman Melvin. Is that clear?
That's clear.
All right, so we'll resume at 6 p.m. sharp. 8 on the agenda back to item I. So moved by Councilman Lorraine, second by Councilman Araby. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, absence being Councilman Melvin. Aye. Board of Review public hearing at 6 p.m. I'll now entertain a motion to open public hearing as a Board of Review. So moved by Councilman Adams, second by Councilman Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Is anyone opposed? Motion passes 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Number 4, serving as the Board of Review, the council will hear public comments and protest values of property for assessment purposes fixed by the Lafourche Parish Assessor's Office. I'll now entertain a motion to close public hearing as the Board of Review. So moved by Councilman Adams, second by Councilman Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item 5, approve or deny any protests received and submit results to the Louisiana Tax Commission. On each one of these, upon completion of reading the actual appeal and hearing any presentations, I will entertain a motion to approve or deny, so as we go down the list. With that said, brings us to the first, which is item A, written appeal from Mr. Robert Terrio, assessment tax bill number 003118710. Mr. Robert, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Council, Mr. President. Oh, I'm not sure if you're going to take part in this, but anyway, Robert Terrio, Eagle Drive, Raceland, Louisiana. And I asked he's not called an IT guy, I forget what his exact title is, but I appreciate you bringing up that chart for us. All of you should have it already in your packet. And tonight, I'm appealing my assessment value of my home for over 40 years. And it's not so much because the house may or may not be worth what the assessment is. What I'm questioning is what the assessor is valuing property, and that all assessment values should be equal or uniform on the street that I live on. And just to mention to you, the Louisiana Tax Commission appraiser appraised my property for quite a bit less than what the assessment value is. All values placed by the assessor must be statistically calculated and must be explainable to the property owner. Nothing should be kept secret as to how the numbers are done. Now, if you look at the monitor or your sheet that's in your packet, what I have done is took what was presented by our assessor the last 2 years. As you might know, this is the third time I'm appealing this. And I have taken her table, which is table A in the black, and I assigned them line numbers 1 through 6. And for example, line number 1 is your parcel number ending in 6600, and it's in Green Acre subdivision. And the sales price was $204,000 with a land value of $20,000. That makes the improvement value of $184, square footage of 1718, or $107.10 per square foot. So when you look at table A, one can summarize that she's assessing the values and determining the square footage, how much it costs per square foot on assessed values. And square footage is a critical component in determining assessed values. And she uses that in her table 1. And then she assigned a value of $155,000, which is in the square box of 2022. And in 2023, that square box is still the same, as far as I know anyway. I know my data sheet shows it's still at 155. Now, if you go down to Part B, which is a table that I came up with in the red square, and you go to line item number 1, reference number 1, which is towards the middle, you're looking at parcel number 6600 again, and address, by the way, is 413 Eagle Drive. And then you go all the way down to the purchase price of $204,000, which agrees with the chart above, line item number 1. However, that property is only being assessed at $191,900, which means that property owner is getting a 6% discount. And if you go by each one of those line items, reference number 2, you look and you see that that sales price is $120,000, and then you go down to section B, or the red square, and you see that $120,000 on the far right is only being assessed at $114,000. So that property owner is getting a 5% discount. Line item number 3, that property owner pays $159,000, and yet he's only being assessed at $125,900. And then line item number 4, reference 4, you can see where that property owner pays $137,000, and yet is only being assessed at $110,000. Line reference number 5, that property owner pays $205,000 and is only being assessed at $116,000. A 76% discount, as you can see. And then again for the final, which is line reference number 6, property owner paid $160,000, yet is only being assessed at $153,000, which is a 5% discount. Now, what I did further in the section B there, the red square box, is I went and back to 2002 and looked at all properties that had been purchased or sold through the years. And again, you see very similar discounts. You see 11%, 6%, 26%, 29%, 81%. So you're looking at an average of 27% discount, okay? Or a median of 25%. A median, by the way, is where you take out the outliers. And so it's another way of saying an average, I guess. And so as I'm pointing out here, I've been in that house for over 40 years. why wouldn't I qualify for a similar discount as to other property owners that have only been there 5 or 10, 15 years? And as you can see, assessed value is not necessarily market value, even though everybody says it's supposed to be market value. You can see what kind of discounts are being given on properties that have been bought or sold across the parish. So with that said, I'm going to sum up my presentation. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. If everyone paid their fair share in property taxes, I wouldn't mind paying what my fair market value is. But I think everybody should be treated equally. If they were treated equally, we'd have probably a lower millage rate. If we had a lower millage rate, we'd have less taxes. We would be able to encourage businesses to move into the parish. When we don't have equality or uniformity in taxes, the citizens of this parish may be subjected to retaliatory practices, which I feel have been. And I conclude my presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Terrio.
Hello. My name, do I need to state my name for the record? Wendy Thibodeau, 403 St. Louis Street in Thibodeau, Louisiana. Okay, so back in 2021, of March of 2021, Mr. Terrio came into my office to file for a 65 freeze, which is an exemption, another word for an exemption to where I can't increase his assessment during reappraisal. So in March of 2021, he came into the office and he was filing for a 65 freeze. And my office procedure is when somebody files for a 65 freeze, because the law has requirements, I ask for their driver's license to prove their age, because they have to be 65 years or older. And there's an income requirement, and it has to be, at that time, it was $72,000 or less. So I require a driver's license to prove the age, and I require a federal income tax return to prove their income. Mr. Terrio came into my office and provided me with a Texas driver's license with a Texas address. He gave me a federal income tax return with a Texas address. Well, that is in violation of the Louisiana Constitution, and as a responsibility of the seat of assessor, I was required by law to remove the exemption and the freeze. When the freeze was removed, I'm also required by law to reassess it at that moment in time, and that's what I did. I reassessed the property because he had had a disability freeze on the property since 2008. So the property was not reassessed since 2008. I brought up the value through reassessment. And if you look at the tab 2, which it has it's the chart that he pulled up, but it's this chart right here. If you see, the reason why he's pulling up discrepancies is that he's going by fee simple appraisal. It's called sales chasing in the world of assessment. And in the rules and regulations from the Louisiana Tax Commission, it is forbidden to do sales chasing. That means that if somebody sells a house for $100,000, I go as soon as it's sold and I put it on for 10% of $100,000. That is illegal according to the Louisiana Tax Commission. And it's plain as day in the rules and regulations. Because if somebody sells a house for $100,000 and your neighbor sells the house for $65,000, that causes the inadequacies. What I'm required by law to do is to assess according to mass appraisal. Mass appraisal. That is totally different than fee simple appraisal. Fee simple appraisal is when you go hire an appraiser and they go out and they appraise your property. Whether you have crown molding, whether you have granite countertops. I don't do it that way. I don't go into every house in the parish and assess property that way. I go by the bricks and mortar, which is the living square footage and the average dollar per square foot sold in an area. And that's what you see up here. I'm flattered that he thinks I go and give discounts according to every person in a neighborhood. That's 55,000 structures. There's no way that could be accomplished in a 6-month period of time. It is mass appraisal, and this is how I'm required by law to do it. Now, with the reassessment, his property, if you look at the next page, that's the land, mass appraisal for land. Then if you go into the next document in my packet, this is the tax commission's findings from, let me look at the year, 2022. And if you turn to page 7 of 9, you'll see that the appraiser from the tax commission, because whenever you make a complaint or file a complaint to the tax commission, they automatically send out an appraiser, one of their appraisers, not mine, theirs. They sent out an appraiser, and as you can see, he valued the property at $149,000. He did a fee simple appraisal. He went out, looked to see if he had crown mold and granite countertops. Fee simple, just looked at that one house. If you look on the back page, the tax commission, when it says order of the commission, the total value, they upheld my $155,000, because in assessments and in this fair and equitable process of mass appraisal, I have to be within 90 and 110% of market value. They said the market was 149, 155 falls within that range, and that's why they held up my 155. That's in 2022. If you continue, the next one, this is 2021. Again, the appraiser said that it was $149,000. The tax commission upheld my $134,800 because that was the year of the hurricane, and I took the $155,000 and gave everybody depreciation across, in different areas according to the damage. And if you look at the table that we were looking at a minute ago, that'll show you how I gave 25% in his area. So it was the 155 minus the 25% depreciation because of the hurricane. But it started at the 155, just like everybody else. So with that, I removed the homestead exemption. I reassessed his property according to this table, according to the mass appraisal. When that happened, his value went up. He keeps on saying that the taxes are higher, the assessor has no authority over millages, none whatsoever. I have no control over millages. That's individual to the individual districts. The reason why his taxes are higher is because he does not have a homestead exemption. Because he showed me a driver's license from Texas and a tax return from Texas. He has since filed suit with the court system, and we go to court on November 18th. At that time, the judge will determine whether he is entitled to a homestead exemption or not. But that will be on November 18th. The reason why he does not have a homestead is because he violated the law, and I had to remove it. It is my obligation and responsibility as the assessor to uphold the law in my office. Does anybody have any questions?
Anyone have any questions of Ms. Thibodeau or Mr. Terrio? No? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. With that said, at this time, if there's no discussion, I'll need to entertain a motion to approve or deny the protests. Mr. Window. Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Window to deny the protests, before a second by Mr. Grow. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. Item B, written appeal from Mormac LLC Assessment Tax Bill Number 21033-86620. Just remember to state your name and address for the record, sir.
My name's Richard Murphy, 10727 Creek Lane, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I work for Kroll, and I'm representing Marmac. I'm going to try to keep this as simple as possible. Y'all have a copy of the appeal with me?
Yes, sir.
There are 5 vessels that are under protest. The assessor is not accepting Mormac's Lat 11 rendered and construction contract supported costs, and is instead referring to a Chapter 7 table that are overstated, the costs are overstated, or not the same type of vessel. If you turn to page 8, that has a picture of the 2 types of vessels. The top one is a hopper barge, and the one below is a tanker. All 5 barges are hopper barges. Page 8. Yes. Y'all have different page numbers?
Does anyone need any help to locate it, or are we all good? Anyone need us to hold up? You can continue, sir.
Okay. Next is page 9. This is an article discussing the sales price of these types of barges, but there is no need to build as they sufficiently do not meet capacity. And you can see in the article that, they're saying that these new barge cost $900,000 to $1 million, and there's no way the barge company's going to build something that big, that costly. Next is page 10, under B, valuation. Fair market value is the valuation standard for watercraft. When using the cost approach, the assessor shall estimate the fair market value of each vessel, having situs in his parish through the use of information provided him on the Lat Form 11. Everybody up with it? Okay.
When you,
Go ahead.
sir, when you're referencing pages,
Yes.
the page printouts didn't come clear on every page.
Okay.
As we were looking at our agenda, so if you could say what article and what the title of what you're
Okay.
referencing, that would help me for certain.
All right.
Thank you, Councilman Grove.
You want me to go back to, got the picture, the article on page 9. That's steel prices, but barge fleet expansion on hold. There's the cover page. There's a picture of a tugboat. Page 10 was the valuation definition, and on the top it has Chapter 7, watercraft. Page 12 is the Chapter 7 table 703B1, showing composite multiplier cost index times percent good. Pages 13 through 25 is the construction contract for barge SH-253 and SH-254.
not seeing a thing you're talking about. Are you following, are you on B, number 21033866620? Are you following our agenda? You got 5
I
of
don't,
them.
I was never given an agenda.
Okay. Which one are you referencing right now so we know? We think we're on B, and these pages aren't matching up.
Okay, I'm looking at all 5 vessels, at the same time. In the,
That's Wendy's paperwork. I'm talking about an agenda. That's Wendy's appeal.
Yeah, right now we're on the tax bill number 21033866620. So ending in 20.
okay,
It's in our agenda packet. Look, I could give you,
What's the head
this
of
copy if you want. So you know what
Mr.
we-
Chairman, let me just say this. This is not my normal
No worries.
thing. My,
No worries.
compadre that was supposed to be here couldn't make it from Dallas.
Yeah, no
This
worries.
is what we're following
so-
right here, if you want to.
The only thing I have is these numbers here
Right.
on that. So I've taken off 5 vessels and just, they're all pretty much the same.
Okay. So we can vote them individually, but we can certainly open up for discussion on all 5, because we have done that in the past, and they're basically the same. So we'll just go ahead and discuss at this time all of them, but then when it comes to the vote, it'll be out on each individual one. Is everyone good with that? You good with that, tax assessor? No, I have mine. Okay, thank you. So yeah, we'll go ahead and you can discuss B, C, D, E, and F, which are all by your firm, and we'll just bring them up for individual votes.
Okay. I think I'll be able to point out the differences. So the last was page 12, and that's the LTC table 703B1. It looks like this.
The table.
Well, no, it's not the steel price. This is the cost index for deciding the final cost of the barge. It uses a cost multiplier. Let me see if you.
So this is barges. I just saw it from 2002 to 2022. The cost index. So page 13. So page 13 is what he's looking at this time.
Mine was
Right now.
page 12, so looks like we're
That's it.
off one.
So you want to go ahead and discuss that one?
Yeah, well, let's see, page, I gotta figure out which one. Basically, the Marmac is using a figure of 317,275. Page 2, which y'all might have as page 3.
That's the second assessment he's referencing.
So it's a little chart like this.
Actually, that's 2, 3. 2 and 3. Yeah, so the assessment number that ends in 34 and 39 is the one that he's referring to. They both, the they're reporting it at 317,275.
Correct.
In both of those, I think there was a differential of $1,882,725, because the base costs that we were given was $2,200,000.
Right.
So it's a sizable one. Is
So we-
everyone following that, where we're at on this one?
Yeah, so we're disagreeing in the price, and, you know, like I said, we're using this table. Let's see, it was built in 2001. It's been rented 365 days. Composite factor was 39%. Estimated market value, 123,737, with an assessment ratio of 15%. 18,561 is the assessed value, according to the company.
And the argument would be from you on both those assessments, pretty much identical information?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the argument would be is what the assessor is starting with. And like I said, all 5 barges are hopper barges. I'm not sure I think she may have used tank barge and hopper barge, but they're different.
Anyone has any questions on that? Follow me saying what he's talking about? Okay.
And so the next 3,
Do you want our assessor to present her counter to that on these 2, or do you want to go through the next 3 first? You can do that, that's fine.
yeah, the next 3, the same thing. They're using a different price. And let's see,
Y'all had 797,237 versus the 2,200,000.
correct.
On all 3. And that's going to be assessment numbers ending in 4140 and 20. Everyone follow that?
Yeah, 4041 and 20.
Yep. So same thing as just the type differential, I guess, is your summation.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else you want to offer?
That's it.
That's it. Thank you, Sarah. Much appreciated.
Hello. Do I have to state my name on everyone? I don't remember.
No, one time's
Okay.
good, and you can go ahead and talk
All right,
about
I'm going to address all 5 of them at
assessment.
one
And
time.
and preferably for us, and you could do it in
Yep.
2 groups, I think we'll
I am.
understand.
I'm going to do it in all 5 of them at one time. In your packet, what he's bringing up is the tables that the tax commission provides us in the rules and regulations for any type of vessel or barge that does not have a table established for that specific category. So if you have a Chinese tanker that comes into Fushan and it's not on here, then you use the cost with those tables that he was referring to, the 703 A and B, I believe it is. I don't know the numbers, but it's just it's if these tables don't exist. But the tables do exist, and it's in your packet under the hopper barge. It's under WC 17. You'll see the hoppers and the tanks right on top of each other. And so the lat form that they filled out was a 2001 a 2001 hopper, and what he paid for it was in 2001. This is given depreciation according to the tax commission. These are the tables that the tax commission established. I'm not saying I agree with the tables, but they I fought to lower these tables for the barges last year. I lost. So I can't veer from this, because if I do, then when I go to the tax commission, I'm going to lose. You know, if there is some adjustments that the tax commission has the authority to make, I don't have that authority here. With what they gave me, I'm not agreeing with the depreciation, because these vessels are insured for millions of dollars, you know, so this is it. I'm going by what the tax commission told me I have to do. And it's the same for all 5 barges. What I did for Marmac, I did not veer from any other vessel that is in Lafourche Parish. I am uniform and consistent. If any changes need to be made, it has to come from the people that approved and adopted these tables. That's, and I mean, whatever they say, I'm gonna go with. And that's kind of the same for all 5 of them. I went according to the watercraft tables that were established by the Louisiana Tax Commission last year.
The WC reference on the bottom of all these pages.
That's watercraft.
Watercraft.
That is the Louisiana, it's copies of the Louisiana Tax Commission's rules and regulations. That's chapter, it's WC is watercraft chapter, and that's the page. It's watercraft page 17. And as you can see, the date next to the page number is when that page was last updated.
And that's under the jurisdiction of the Louisiana Tax Commission.
Yes, sir.
Because, I mean, these numbers are like drastically different than what they're, I mean, it's massively different.
Exactly. And that was part of my argument last year for the 2023 rules and regulations. If you remember, last year we had all of the watercraft. It's because of these. I was trying to get these lowered for the barges.
So these 5 would likely be then, these are going to go in front of the Louisiana
Yes.
Tax Commission.
And I'm going to be honest with you, that's where I wanted to go. They made these tables. I feel more comfortable with the tax commission changing it.
Mr. Grove?
And you have some certification on watercraft?
Yes,
don't
I
you?
just got certified vessel in Mardi Gras. I was certified I took an online 12-week course out of London, England, in a maritime academy, and I'm certified in vessel valuation.
Okay, thank you.
But that came into play for the argument for the tables.
Right.
Not
still
for
gonna pass it
individual
on.
assessments. I'm still obligated to follow the tax commission's tables. What I took that course for was more to get a more fair value for these types of issues. Does that make sense? Okay. It makes
Very
sense
good.
here,
Anyone
but-
have any questions of the assessor? Thank you. Appreciate it, Wendy. Does anyone have any other questions or discussions before we deliberate on each one of these 5 individual items? Okay, with that said, it brings us back to the original written appeal. We're only going to now consider assessment tax bill number 21033-86620, which is number B. Mr. Wendo offers a motion to deny the above protest, second by Mr. Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, absence being Councilman Melvin. Item C, written appeal from Mormac LLC Assessment Tax Bill Number 21033-86634. I'm going to assume, Mr. Wendell, you are going to offer a motion to deny the above protest, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item D, written appeal from Mormac LLC Assessment Tax Bill Number 21033-86639. Motion on the floor by Mr. Wendell to deny the above protest, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Mr. Melvin. That was D. Item E, written appeal from Mormac LLC Assessment Tax Bill Number 21033-86640. We have a motion on the floor by Mr. Wendell to deny the above protest, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item F, written appeal from Mormac LLC Assessment Tax Bill Number 21033-86641. Excuse me. Motion on the floor by Mr. Wendell to deny the above protest, second by Mr. Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passed with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. We do appreciate you coming out tonight, and certainly I think we all look forward to the Louisiana Tax Commission to resolving this honorably between all of us. Thank you. Okay, so I will now mention that item G, H, and I. Ms. Carlene, you buried my email, I think. Just so everyone knows, these are withdrawn. These are the Era Helicopters LLC. There was an email sent on Friday, September 22nd to Ms. Carlene, and it basically states that we would like to withdraw the appeals for the below 3 Bristol accounts and it references each one of those. So those three, as per this email, are hereby removed. Good with that, tax assessor? Yes. Item J, written appeal from Deepwater Supply Incorporated, Resource Rig Supply Incorporated, assessment tax bill number 1103284051. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just state your name and address for the record again, please.
Richard Murphy, 10727 Creek Lane, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I hope this one will be a little bit shorter. There are only 3 page numbers.
No worries.
This one really should be kind of simple. I think Deepwater was brought up last year and went to the tax commission, but we're bringing it up again this year. Cost basis of $41,271,313 is now agreed upon, so there's no disagreement there. 8-year life physical depreciation is based on the prior LTC ruling and not being contested. What is being contested is the recognition of obsolescence. That's the only issue. Last year we were granted 20%. I think we were asking for 40%. We were granted 20. This year, the sales, let's see. The contract drilling revenues has only increased from 2,556 to 2,575 in millions. So it's only a 1% increase, and we're getting 0 obsolescence this year. We're asking for 40%. But like I said, we were granted 20% last year and 0 this year. So that is our argument. Any
Does
questions?
anyone have any questions? Mr. Assessor.
Okay, so last year, they appealed it. This is for the Deepwater Supply. They appealed it last year, and they wanted 70% obsolescence, and it went all the way to the tax commission. If you look in your packets it says Deepwater Supply Incorporated, it's the tax commission's ruling. It's page 9 of 11. Y'all found that?
Yep.
Okay, on page 9, if you look at the 3rd paragraph in the middle, it says that first, the taxpayer offered no other mathematical explanation calculation for its request obsolescence factor of 70%, which is what I was saying. The reason why I gave them 20 is because they gave me documentation to support the 20% obsolescence, but not the 70. If you go down to the bottom, the last sentence of that same paragraph, it says, nothing in the taxpayer's submission or testimony established that the Chapter 11 tables failed to achieve market value. The next paragraph, nothing in the taxpayer's presentation, testimony, or evidence established that the assets subject to assessment are functionally obsolete. Next, while the taxpayer's evidence and testimony did suggest that external market conditions were impacting, which is exactly what he's saying now, the value of these income-producing assets, the taxpayer failed to provide adequate support for the obsolescence factor of 70. We're in the same boat. The information that I asked last year that supported the 20% obsolescence that I gave last year, those numbers they actually increased. So that's why I didn't give them the 20% or anything in between, because the documentation that they supported actually showed that they made money, to where last year's they showed that they lost 20%. So that's the reason why I'm staying uniform and consistent, like I do with every personal property and watercraft and everything in the personal property category. So that is why I did not give them obsolescence.
Any questions?
And they're not arguing they're not arguing the assessed value. They're, the cost, the base cost. They're just arguing the obsolescence. I'm correct in saying that. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
All right?
Appreciate it. Does anyone have any further questions before we bring this one to a vote? Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wendell to deny the above protest, second by Mr. Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence, that absence being Councilman Melvin. Item K, written appeal from Canium LLC, assessment tax bill number 31033279904. Is anyone here from them? Okay. You have the floor, Ms. Wendy.
Okay, so Cantium, as we all notice, has been going on for quite a few years. The tax commission did rule in Cantium's favor, upholding their sale price from 2017. They filed this appeal just to kind of protect themselves, but I am in negotiations with them for the 22 and 23 year, okay? So because 22 is going in front of the tax commission in October, and then if they appeal this all the way to the tax commission, it'll be sometime next year. What they are arguing, they want the 44, I can't believe I'm up here defending them, but anyway, they want the $44 million assessment because what's different from their appeals from years prior to this year is that they made changes, the tax commission made changes to the rules and regulations, and it is more oil and gas friendly. It is, it benefits them more, but it's such a decrease in assessed values across the board that what the tax commission did is they said that the assessors, if it falls under a certain number, that we can take half of what the assessment was in 2022, and that's what we chose to do. We took half of the assessment from 2022, which is the 82. That's why it's half of what they want. They don't want me to take the half, but the tax commission does allow for me to do that this year. I don't know if they're gonna allow that in 2024, but they are allowing us to do that just to kind of help the districts because we lose money, but our tax base is strong enough to where we kind of don't feel it as much, but there are some parishes out there that this is detrimental. So this is kind of like the way that I could describe it is like a phase out kind of thing. But that's why I'm in negotiations with Cantium for 2023 and 2022, because 2023 is based on whatever I agree on for 2022. It's half of whatever that is. So that's why I'm saying I'm in negotiations with them for both years, because it kind of goes hand in hand just this one year. And next year, I don't know what the tax commission's going to do, if they're going to allow us to give 25% as more of a phase-in, or we're going to have to go to the 44. But as you can see, it is half of what the assessment would have typically been. So it is very oil and gas friendly.
Explained very well for me. I understand it crystal clear. Anyone have any questions? Nope. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
So we'll bring this one also to a vote. Looks like we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wendell to deny the above protest, second by Councilman Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. And it brings us to the last one, which is item L, written appeal from National Allwell Vorco LP L130, assessment tax bill number 109-3295330. Just remember to state your name and address for the record. That's okay, we can share, no worries. We can move along at the pace that's good for everyone to understand. Since Mike Grove asks the most questions. I think we got another bean counter up here.
And y'all, for address, y'all want like my home address?
Business is good.
Business address?
Yeah, business is fine, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want anyone going knocking on your door.
Jaden Randall, 1500 South Dairy Ashford, Houston, Texas. Go ahead and apologize for the hat hair. It was quite a long drive to get down here today. But I'm going to try to get y'all to follow along. Y'all might have questions. This is kind of a very, I guess, different ordeal we're dealing with here. And so what we're dealing with National Oil Varco LP Ledger 130 is specifically generators made for offshore or onshore. Typically all of their fleet, majority of their fleet is offshore generators. And the issue that we have is in December 31st, 2017, new EPA requirements disallow an individual from making new adjustments to Tier 2 or Tier 3 engines, so they have to upgrade to Tier 4 engines. All of their fleet is for Tier 2 and Tier 3 engines. So we can just start with the first page, and I'll try to, like I said, I'll try to walk y'all through it. That's the basis of what's going on. So the first page, that's just copy of the appeal. Second page is, after talking with Ryan, and unfortunately I haven't got to deal with Wendy much, but I dealt with Ryan Friedlander on the values and stuff on this. And so what I did is we used Marshall & Swift to develop our valuation because we knew a bunch of parishes were using other tax firms to do that. But as Ryan made me aware, this year with the new tax commission regulations and stuff, I changed our valuation to adjust for the lives that he's using in this parish, and using his index, which is the Louisiana cost multipliers. And then the only difference is on the idle generators, I applied a service factor to account for the obsolescence adjustment for these generators. And so our value on that first page there with the Excel worksheet all the way to the right, that's the value that we believe after making the adjustment for that. So that's just a breakdown of the assets that are in there. You can kind of flip through all that Excel stuff. That's just a breakdown and everything on the generators. And then I attached the table that we use that Ryan said he was using for the life schedules and stuff. He used those same composite multipliers to come up with the value of this equipment. And then from there, I guess if y'all could all make sure you're on this page, and I apologize, it's kind of hard to follow along, but this is a letter from National Oil Varco. And so their engine manufacturer for the generators is Cummins. And so the issue is they have idle assets due to code and federal regulation, which I mentioned earlier, that came through on December 31st, 2017. If you flip to the next page, as of January 1, 2018, the federal regulation disallows an individual or company to build a new rental generator package with a non-road Tier 2 or Tier 3 engine. The portable power business model, which is the company we're talking about, is designed to fit Tier 2 and Tier 3 engines. So they keep the existing non-operational assets as a placeholder due to the engine or other major component failures. So they're keeping these generators as a part of their fleet. So when these generators come in and they need, if they were to scrap these generators, they're losing half their fleet of rentable generators. But they haven't had these generators since 2018 to be able to rent out. So what they're having to do is go through Cummins, and when they upgrade the engines, Cummins has to give them an engine that meets the new EPA requirements for Tier 2 and Tier 3. They could upgrade their fleet to Tier 4, but Tier 4 doesn't allow them to build 800 kilowatt, 1,000 kilowatt, or 1,250 kilowatt generators. So they have to keep the Tier 2s and Tier 3s, in essence, working, get them back up to rentable condition. But due to the EPA requirements, that's a hard thing to do. So it says in the second paragraph of that page, due to working capital constraints and manpower, the assets are idle as a placeholder due to the EPA federal regulations. They're repaired when necessary to put back into the working fleet as needed. Not all assets will be in working condition at once and put into a rental fleet because repairs are extensive and they make up 50 to 70% of the total cost of the generator. So that's the issue that they have. They can't just go out and repair all 140 of these generators at once. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars they need to put forth to get these generators back going. And then if you want to flip through, there's a couple emails. These are just emails. If you want to look through them, you can. These are emails between NOV, the facility manager, Bruce Howes, and Cummins, talking about the Tier 4, Tier 2, Tier 3 road generators and new EPA requirements. If you want to flip to the next page, that kind of looks like in this Excel sheet here. This is what I received from the facility manager, Bruce Howes, at NOV. This is their offshore skid package sizes for their generators. And the new build cost, if they were to build that generator new today, those are the costs it would take. But the minimum cost to make these generators rentable is the cost for the engines, the alternators, radiator, exhaust, housing, and skid, all of that adds up to, on the right, I did a percent of asset value. So like it said in the other 50 to 70%, you can see the percent of the repairs they need to bring these assets back up to rentable condition. And then it's, have highlighted here. Tier 4 engines, the customer base don't want them because, like I said, they're not offered in the 800, 1,000, 1,250 kilowatt sizes. So to stay within the laws, we're able to refurbish an existing asset, which is a reason they hang on to the assets that are down. But like I said, since the requirement came over in 2018, these assets have been sitting there idle because they don't have the manpower or the money to upgrade these assets all at once. And this wasn't made obvious to us until I went and visited the facility back in December, and I asked them, why you got all these generators just sitting out here? And so once we started digging into this, this is the reason. And what is another main component, you may ask, well, if it's an engine, why don't they just replace the engine? Well, once these generators hit 20,000 hours, then they have to replace all the other things I'm talking about. So basically, generators come in, it's got 20,000 hours, we need to upgrade the engine to meet EPA requirements, but we also need to do all the other repairs to make them rentable. So that's the breakdown for that. And then Ryan actually asked me why would they keep these on the books? So I thought it was a good thing to ask the facility manager, because why would they not just scrap them, get rid of them? Well, the reason they don't scrap them, they can't, so these assets are still on the books because we can't make any, although we cannot make any revenue, because they were grandfathered in under the TPM regulations that began December 31st, 2017, which says they can't build a new generator package unless it's Tier 4. If we scrap these assets, we are limiting the amount of generators in our fleet and slowly putting ourselves out of business. So if they scrap 140 of these generators, now they don't have the opportunity to have 140 other generators to be repaired and then rented out down the line. So if they put these scrap and get rid of them off the books, they're just, like he's saying, putting themselves out of business. So on the next page, and like I said, I apologize, a little bit longer than y'all seen, but I'm just trying to make y'all aware it's a real weird type deal we're dealing with here. So the next page is another Excel table that I received from the property manager, facility manager. And so from 2020, this is another thing that the assessor's office, Ryan, asked me for, was the total number of idle generators per year. So 2020, they had 98. 2021, there was 132. And as of 2023, they had 140. In 2023, they were able to repair 14 generators. So that's the best they've been able to do this year, is repair 14. And as of the next list is as of 9/22. So as of last Friday, I got the facility manager to give me an update. What have they been able to do? And you'll see the ones that are in yellow are the generators that are still sitting there idle. The ones that are changed to green, they finally got going and they're able to be rented out. So they got, now I guess instead of having 140, they got 126 that are sitting idle. Oh, okay, sorry.
You good?
Didn't know there was a time thing, I apologize. Oh, okay.
You good? You can get to
Sorry. So what I did to try to come up with an obsolescence adjustment on these is I took that percent to make the repairs over all the generator packages they have. That's the thing you'll see on one of the last sheets there. And it came out to an average obsolescence of 74%. So I applied that obsolescence for the idle generators alone on the account, and that's how I developed the value. And then the last thing at the end of the packet is just pictures, and I will go ahead and take this off because I apologize. The printer at work, I'd use a lot of ink if I printed off a bunch of colored pictures. So the colored ones are here, the black and white ones y'all have. These are the generators that are sitting in the yard idle, not being rented, can't make revenue. And this is something that I guess I heard a very intelligent woman mention at one point is you have to have loss to get obsolescence. And so in order to get a loss to warrant obsolescence, financially it's going to be, you'd have to probably look back to 2018 to see that revenue loss for these generators. But the way that I'm looking at the loss for this company in general is you lost half your fleet due to this EPA requirement that are now non-rentable. So the loss that I'm talking about that may warrant obsolescence in my mind is that you got 140 generators that are not being able to be used, can't generate any revenue unless you upgrade to the tier 4 or upgrade them to meet EPA requirements. So that should be that. I apologize, it was a little long, but if y'all got questions, just let me know.
It's a compelling argument. Obviously, it relies pretty much on the obsolescence. Anyone have any questions before our tax assessor comes up? All right, Madam Thibodeau.
Okay, so this is it. I am not disagreeing with the fact that they have generators that are not being used because of the whole regulation thing and so forth. But the fact that they're not scrapping them is the fact that they do have future use and they do have some sort of value. I have no problem awarding them obsolescence. But again, just like in the last, in Deepwater, I have to be able to prove it. I get accused regularly that I just pick and choose numbers and I give obsolescence when I feel like it and so forth. We do not sit up here and hold our eyes and throw darts at a dartboard. I need to be able to defend why I'm given obsolescence and why I'm given the amount of obsolescence that we give. So what I require is that the company give me their financials from the year before to this year. I was told by NOV, not him, but like the corporate, is that they didn't have this location separated out. And my rebuttal to that was, well, somebody had to send you, that they just had one big number for the whole company. And I'm like, well, somebody had to send you a document saying how much they made in order to add it in to all of the other locations to come up with big number. So what was that? And I don't even care if it is 2018 that these are the last, I'll go back. I don't mind giving obsolescence, but I have to be able to defend it. I have to be able to explain to the public why I'm doing what I'm doing, and I need proof, and that's all. That's it. The pictures, we even asked for pictures in hopes that it would, trying to defend or give some kind of documentation, and like the pictures, I mean, they just look like generators sitting there. It didn't help the argument at all. We asked for different things. If you see through the emails, we did try and work with them to get, we were trying to think of anything to get them that this location can give me some kind of documentation that I can just basically defend myself to the public, to the districts, and to the tax commission, because I do get audited. So that's why I didn't give obsolescence. If they could give me a document from last year, I don't even care if it's from 2018, 19, 20, 21, and 22, and 23. If they give me documentation showing the loss, I will, from this location, separate it out. I just can't believe that a company does not have that information somewheres in there that it's separated by this location. And I just need something.
Yeah, I did see the email exchange where they couldn't provide that, and it's unfortunate because it sounds like it's legit. Councilman Grove.
I have a question, hopefully it's similar. When you evaluate a boat that's been docked and they strip the whole galley out, a bunch of equipment, so if they would go back to work, they're not Coast Guard approved. They got to do a bunch of upgrades.
Correct.
Not EPA, but to be
Correct.
Coast Guard. Do you value those boats differently?
The difference is that in the watercraft tables, the tables that you saw earlier, they tell me what the obsolescence is. The tax commission tells me what the obsolescence is according to the days worked. So if the vessel does not work, the first year gets 75% obsolescence. If it doesn't work more than a year, so anything a year and a day more that it doesn't work, it gets 90%.
But you have a
The
table.
difference is that the tax commission says if it falls in on this line, it gets this much depreciation. It doesn't do that for this.
Yeah.
The difference is that that's watercraft and that's oil and gas.
But both are not scrapped. They could both potentially come back.
Correct.
You just don't have a table with them.
That's why if it doesn't work more than, like for 2 years, that they get 90%. But that's the max. If it doesn't work for 10 years, it still gets assessed at 10% of the market value. And that would be the same thing that I would try and establish with them from 2018. It's just that I need something to defend myself. That's the only reason why I haven't given them obsolescence.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a little more black and white. My question is, if we deny this protest, can you continue dialogue with them to maybe to get this resolved?
Yes. It goes to the tax commission, and either one of us can choose to do that. And I mean, it's fine. It's just that I do not I get accused enough of not.
No, I fully understand that.
Thank
My,
you.
my only appeal is that you would continue to work with them because I think
I'm
this is
trying.
knowing what's going on at that
Literally,
location.
the pictures that you got is from a timestamp photo thing for the hurricane. We told them to go do it to try and, I was trying anything.
Yeah.
I just don't know
I saw
what
the emails
documentation they
exchanged.
had.
Yep. Thank you, Wendy. Much appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone have any further discussion? I do want to thank you for coming, making that compelling argument, though. Thank you. With that said, Mr. Jim, are you offering a motion to deny? So we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Winter to deny the above protest, second by Councilman Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. That absence being Councilman Melvin. I'll now entertain a motion to resume back to item item P, adjournment. With that said, on motion by Mr. T. Boo Adams, second by Councilwoman Chesson, and with there being no further business, the Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of September 26, 2023 will be adjourned at 17:08 hours. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence. The absence being Councilman Melvin. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.